Hey swimmers, Coach Kevin here. Today's video, we're going to cover the best exercises you can do at home to create more power in your breaststroke. And that's going to lead to getting much faster times and getting those PRs that you're looking for. And with exercises, there's a philosophy that I always follow where you want the exercise that you're doing to very closely simulate the actual movement you're doing in the sport. And that's going to get you better results. Now, we all know breaststroke has these movements that are totally different and unique, like whoever brings their leg up and bends it out this way and pushes down like that. So these exercises are specifically designed for breaststroke to give you the best results from them, instead of just doing other exercises that work pretty good to help your breaststroke. And something else we're going to think about is these adductors that we use in our legs. They're very easy to strain. And we want to make sure we get a really good warm-up in that is going to loosen those up and prepare them for a good exercise. Additionally, we want to think about any knee discomfort. So if during the warm-up you're feeling any pain in your knees or any pain in those muscles, just don't do those exercises that day. See if you can kind of recover from that, maybe do some rehab, prehab type exercises, and then come back and add in these breaststroke exercises. So these are advanced, and I only recommend these for skilled breaststrokers who have good technique and strong hips and strong knees. There are a few things about the warm-up I want to talk about before we go into it. Now, if you have not watched my previous video that covers the extended swimmer warm-up, make sure you watch that. The link is down below. It covers a whole bunch of stuff, a whole bunch of different movements and exercises to get your body ready for typical swimmer dryland workouts. And as mentioned in that video, you want to focus a little bit more with your warm-up on the areas that you're going to stress out the most during those exercises that are coming up. So we're going to work on some good dynamic stretches and exercises for our hips, knees, and ankles, because that breaststroke movement can put a lot of stress on those joints and muscles. And you just kind of combine and blend it into a normal warm-up routine. We're going to start out, jumping jacks are great for pretty much any warm-up, but especially the exercises that we're doing today. And typically you're going to want to do like 40 seconds to a minute worth of jumping jacks just to start getting your body warmed up and loose, getting that heart rate up. Now, I'm not going to go through the full thing, but I was just doing a quick demonstration. Sometimes you also want to adjust how you're landing your feet, right? When you push off the walls, your feet aren't super wide. So sometimes I like to do my jumping jacks, bring my feet out only a little bit. Sometimes I even like to cross them on the inside like that to help develop more strength within my ankles. So those are a couple variations that can help as well. Leg swings are also very important. In that previous video, I show those. Leg swings are also important, so let's go forward and backwards. Get those hips starting to open up. It is okay to hold on to something to balance. It's like if I go over here, it's perfectly fine. Then switch legs. You should feel a stretch on your hip flexor in the front, and then your hamstring and glutes in the back as your feet come forward. Now, side leg swings. So just lean slightly forward, going left and right. Opening up those hips. Now, especially those of you that swim breaststroke, this is really critical. You should probably be doing these on the pool deck as part of your warm-up in the water as well. There's a couple other dynamic stretches that I also like that will prepare you very well for these breaststroke exercises. The first one, you lay down on your back and you hug one knee in. From here, you're going to let your hip rotate out, holding it with that arm, even kind of pulling it a little bit to the side, and then back up and then across to the other side. So you're basically making a half circle with your knee, following the range of motion that you're comfortable doing. And you should feel that hip loosen up a little bit as you do it. And then you switch sides to the other leg and open up that other hip. And me, I have tight IT bands, so sometimes I hear a little pop when I get to this side. And as long as it's not painful, it's not a problem. Additionally, rolling out your ankles will also help you. So you just do circles one way, and then do circles the other way. And that's because the breaststroke kick requires you to turn those ankles and those feet, and this just helps prepare them for that. So, good thing to add into your normal warm-up routine when you work on breaststroke. So, for stretching out those adductors on the insides of your legs, you're going to do a wide angle forward fold, and only go as wide as is comfortable. You shouldn't feel any pain or discomfort, just a nice gentle stretch. And from here, you're going to tilt a little bit to one side, and then tilt a little bit to the other, and you'll just go back and forth until you feel it loosen up a little bit. And then from here, you're going to go down one knee and then your other leg out. Again, so you feel that gentle stretch. And then you're going to lean back into it and then lean back forward. And you'll feel how that hits different muscles that are there on the inside of your leg. And again, don't force any stretches. Only do a range of motion that you're comfortable with. Balancing it out. And I like this one a lot. You can feel how it hits a lot of those different muscles. And so it's not that it's just one muscle that brings your legs closed for that breaststroke kick. There's a whole combination of muscles, and this gets all of them warmed up. And then an exercise that helps is a side lunge. So you just go to the side, do your lunge, and then back up. And then to the other side, lunge, and back up. There is a little bit of setup required to do these exercises. I'm going to help show you some of that. So I'm using 2 door anchors plus 2 of the featherweight bands and a couple handles. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get these door anchors set up, and I'm going to set them up at a height just a little bit above my shoulders when I'm in a kneeling position to help me create that breaststroke swoop motion. So on the far side of the door, I'm going to slide the thin end through out to the other side and leave the ball on the inside of the door. And then on this side, I'm just going to close the door right there, and I'll adjust the height of these and make sure they're secure in place. Deadbolt the door shut. Now, if you don't have a deadbolt or your door doesn't latch very securely, you don't want the door being pulled open, but because I have a deadbolt, I'm going to use the door on this side. For the breaststroke swoops, I take the band and I pull it so the middle is attached to the anchor, so I have 2 loops, and one hand is going to hold on to both of those loops. I'll do the same thing to the other side. So now that I've got it set up, I'm going to think about using this middle part of my hand to hold on to the bands, putting my arms in a position that is right after the outward motion as I'm beginning to pull in and together. And I want my spine to line up so it's going straight toward the anchors. And I'm going to adjust these just a little bit. So never hesitate to adjust your anchors if needed. All right, now I've got it set up, and you see I'm going to hold this in the palm of my hand with my fingers tilted slightly down to make sure it doesn't slide off. From here, I'm in that position as if my arms just came out, and now they're going to pull down and then swoop in. So down and in. kind of simulating that same motion you go through for your normal breaststroke arm pull. Notice my head and body position. I'm not lifting my head up high. I'm keeping it down in line with my spine. So moving on from there, we're going to do some breaststroke shoots. And with this, we're going to use the same bands. I'm going to put them under my feet, and I can add an extra loop if I want to create more tension. And again, I'm just going to hold it in my palms, and I'm going to go into a position just like as if I'm finishing that swoop, pulling those arms in and then shooting them up. And so I'm going to squat down a little bit so you can see that a little bit better. So arms come in and then shoot up. And you want to make it like it's one motion. So it's in and up, in and up, in and up. Just connecting those movements so you get used to going right from this instantly into that really fast shoot up. And notice how my arms are all the way forward and engaged. I'm not keeping them down here like this. I've got a nice good reach, nice and long. So from the side, you're going to see my arm position in relation to my head position. So arms come in and shoot up, in and up, in and up. Good head position, arms going straight forward. And that's going to help you create more speed, shooting those hands back forward. The swoop motion is going to give you more strength coming through, creating that lift and that forward pull. The last one we're going to do is some wrist curls. And depending on how strong your wrists are, you may want to use the same band or grab one that's a little bit heavier. So go ahead and attach a handle, and then I'll attach it back to this door anchor. Like that. And with this, you want to treat it almost kind of like a tricep kickback, but you're going to flex your wrist backwards like that. And you can even do it kneeling down to create that better angle. So that way you don't have to spend time adjusting your door anchors. And I'm sure any of you that have done a ton of breaststroke, especially using paddles during some sets, you feel that burn in your forearms. And this is going to strengthen those forearms up, allowing you to keep that grip on that water as you swoop and then shoot forward. And now let's get a good workout for your legs. I'm going to show you the breaststroke kicks and recoils in the Elite Athlete Studio. This is because my stairs are right next to the door, and so demonstrating it using the door anchors, I'm going to be kicking those steps. Just like as if you were next to the wall swimming breaststroke in a lane. Now look at how I loop the bands. I twist it, I make those two loops, and then I overlay them together, placing that over my foot. That's very important to making sure you get that good placement on your foot, just a little bit above that middle part of your foot. Having shoes with good traction helps hold the bands in place so that way they won't shift on you. Now look at how I start in that W position. I push down and together in a nice controlled motion, and then bring my legs back up just as if I was doing normal breaststroke in the pool. This is one that if you don't already have good breaststroke technique with that kick, don't start doing this exercise. You can try this without the bands to help learn the technique, but until you have that technique, you don't want to do it with the resistance. This is going to be a very good exercise for making that powerful breaststroke kick to help you drop those times once you're back in the pool. Now facing the other direction, we're going to do the same thing with the loops over the feet. And this is going to be for the breaststroke recoils. And so I'm making sure that the bands are securely on my feet, and then I'm scooting back so that way there's some resistance while my feet are all the way forward. And that just helps hold the bands in place while I'm getting set up. Now I'm going to lay back and straighten out my legs. And from here, I'm going to bring my heels up toward my hips and then flare my feet out to the side, just like I would preparing for that breaststroke kick. This one's a little different because you're not going to do the full kicking motion. You're just going to bring your feet back the same way they came up. And as you get better at it, you can increase that tempo of bringing your feet up, but still have a nice controlled movement of bringing your feet back down. And this helps increase that speed of flipping those feet out. Now that you've learned the best exercises to make more power in your breaststroke, make sure you're consistent with it, doing that at least once a week, every week, and occasionally even progressing into twice a week. That way, when you're back in the pool and you're competing, you're going to get those big time drops that you're looking for. Also, make sure to check out the swimmer's workout guide. I've got a link to my website below. There's a lot more detail about different exercises that are going to help improve all of those strokes, as well as kind of a little bit about how to progress through them. I also have power band kits that are designed specifically to do all of these kinds of workouts. Now be careful, there are a lot of other resistance bands out there and accessories that have slight differences in how they're designed and may not work the way you would expect them to with these exercises that I'm teaching. So I really recommend using my kit, and then you'll get the most out of these exercises. Additionally, if you learned something you really liked, please click like below. And if you know anyone else who'd be interested in this video, please share it with them. And subscribe to keep learning more, and I'll see you back again. So be strong and be elite.